Well, thanks for joining us here on a Monday. I'm Marlin Bohling with you, keeping an eye on your ag commodity trade as we get things rolling today. And we have a mixed trade on the grain markets. And here to talk about it, we turn to Chris Swift of Swift Trading in Nashville. He joins us on the set, and good to have you back with us.
Thank you, Martin. Always good to be back.
Hope you had a good Mother's Day.
Oh, I did indeed.
Or at least celebrated Mother's Day
Yes, and we did in rare fashion, so it was great.
All right. Well, the weather cooperated pretty well.
Very much so.
Now, speaking of weather, as we look at our grain trade, we'll dive into the prices here, and I want to get your reaction to this. I don't know if it totally fits together or not, but let's take a look here at our corn board. And now the May, I'll remind you, all these May contracts on the grains, they go off the board, I believe at noon today. Is that right?
Today.
Central time? Okay, so May is down a little bit, but you have to take that with a grain of salt. July corn had been about 1.5 pennies lower overnight. Now it's firmed up by 1 tick, 1/4 cent higher at 3.96 3/4. But the market, unimpressed with all the other deferreds, were unchanged from from September through December and March. They're all unchanged right now. Looking at the soybean trade now, this is the one that had been trading about 4 cents higher overnight. Well, what happened here, Chris? Chris, we have July now 14 higher at 10.17 1/4, only 1 tick from our high of the day. And now November, now 9 1/4 higher at 10.23 1/2. How'd that happen?
I have no idea.
You don't?
not even a remote. Because every drop of rain that fell that you weren't going to get corn planted into clearly was probably going to go to beans.
Right.
And the demand for bean meal still is just phenomenal. And the beans themselves make it that much more demand because of the meal. And I don't think we're going to slow down in livestock production anytime soon. So I think that demand will continue for the meal.
So do you think maybe there's some position evening going on here? They kind of leaned on the beans for a little bit there for a while.
They did. And the only thing that I can think of is with potentially some of the renewed issues with North Korea and China and the U.S., if they all come together and decide that they want to shake hands and be friends, I can imagine some humanitarian efforts that might go to North Korea that could spur our grain markets a little bit, and maybe our meat markets, but purely our grain markets would have some benefit to that. I
heard this morning when I was driving in that there seems to be maybe a little less concern about this Chinese trade issue right now.
Well, and I think so. They need food, and they are sourcing food, and we have seen evidence of that for the last several years, and there's been several good publications put out. USDA put out one a couple of weeks ago that was fantastic on China and how they're sourcing food. So it becomes an issue of how much can they really want to not get that food in there knowing that they need it. So.
All right, let's take a look at the wheat.
Okay.
Now, on the wheat trade here, let's go to the Chicago wheat market. Okay, July down 6.5 at 4.92 1/4, getting even further away from that $5 benchmark now. And on Kansas City wheat, we currently have July trading 5 1/4 lower. We're at 5.12 3/4. And in Minneapolis wheat right now, you have your July contract trading 3 1/4 lower at 6.01 3/4. And I keep hearing more murmurs from different market analysts saying, well, when is enough enough?
Mm-hmm. And I have no idea. Anytime you subtract 50% from anything, you would think that would be enough of a discount to be able to rally some prices and sustain them a little bit. But not only do I not think that they'll get out the 1.3 million acres of spring wheat additional that they were supposed to, I don't think they're going to get out the normal that they usually do. So
yeah, interesting scenario around the globe, and you have to wonder at what point the U.S. wheat will finally become price competitive, with competitors. All right, we'll come back and we will talk a little bit more here about what's going on in our livestock trade. Might take a peek at that cotton market too when we come back, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we're back with you to take a look at our livestock trade and the cotton. I do want to take a look at this cotton board here. It's kind of following the lead of the wheat, it would appear. We have the July cotton down 58 points today at 84.04 cents per pound. And we have December new crop down 25, still at 79.99, just 1 tick under that 80-cent mark. So I wanted to point that out. Now, as we roll over into our livestock side here on the live cattle board this morning, tons of pressure here, Chris. We have June live cattle down 157. We're trading at 106.05 per hundredweight, and we have August down 159 at 102.83. Now, keep in mind that June contract at 106. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, looking at the feeder cattle trade, let's roll over there. We have the May down 147. We have August down 160 at 142.30, and September down $1.50 at 142.48. All right, we turn back to Chris Swift of Swift Trading Incorporated. 106 cattle. Cash cattle, 118 to 122,
122
right?
was the ball.
And a lot of them sold at 122 at the upper end. That's still a long ways away.
It's a big basis to have to converge, but I believe it's probably in the process of it now. So we saw the June futures put on a little bit extra last week. We've seen the cash come down a little bit. So the convergence is underway. It's just going to probably take all the way to the very last week of June to get that convergence all the way down.
Have you seen this before, where it's been that wide like that?
It probably as wide as it is right now, yes. We've seen it at $16, $18 wide, but last week before the cash traded, you were looking at closer to $20 plus wide, and that is kind of abnormal. It says that everybody tried to get out in front of this market and sell it before the time frame when we believed that we would have the inventory meet got here.
And yet we had the wholesale beef trade not doing that bad, right?
Oh, no, it's excellent. Beef demand is excellent. I believe truly that the fear is just excess protein all summer long. We know we've got an increase in pork. Poultry is going to stay steady, and we know we've got an increase in beef coming. So it just probably hits a wall to the consumer as to how much they can consume in a short period of time.
And again, I have to admit, I contributed to the demand over the weekend with the holiday and everything. We did a significant amount of barbecue.
Absolutely, so, yes, I did as well.
And not just one kind of meat. I think we covered about all the bases there. Let's talk about the lean hog trade.
Okay, sure.
That was a very ugly close on Friday on the June contract, over $2 lower. And then this morning they came in, they bounced about 90 cents. Right now we're 85 higher at 75.95. July up 84 at 77.82. What tripped it up on Friday to cause that steep decline just for one day?
I'm not real sure. I haven't seen anything in the pork cutout that changed anything dramatically. The basis is probably more than anything, and we're still running the lean hog index at quite a bit lower level than what June's trading at. So I think at any given time, some of that could just be the basis trade. We just all of a sudden see them want to narrow the basis, and that tends to be more than anything.
And we had cash hog trade was very firm Friday afternoon, I thought.
Yeah.
And you had the pork cutouts higher like that. So it makes you wonder, what was it about Friday, if there was some positioning or something coming into the market, maybe large commodity funds, maybe? I don't know how they're set up right now.
It's possible, and I don't know. I didn't see much volume movement in that day, so it wasn't elevated to some extent that would make you pay closer attention to it.
Interesting stuff. Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming in. And,
absolutely,
good
Mark.
to visit with you again.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, we look forward to it again.